Hi, welcome. Another episode of the Chinese Alchemist here. Today we have Rachel Farabaugh.
Farabaugh.
Farabaugh, sorry. And then, okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Farabaugh, yeah.
Happy to be here, thank you.
Yeah, good to have you here. And today we're going to be talking about her business, her products, and the creative process that she uses to create everything that she has. So maybe tell us a little about what you have
Wonderful.
going on. Yeah.
So I'm an artist and designer.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of my career as a graphic designer and moved about a few years ago back into art, as in painting. I make tarot cards, spirit animals, oracle decks, and I have a shop in Sedona called Bohemian Dreamer.
Yes, and it's a wonderful shop.
Thank
I've been
you.
there. Yeah, I love the layout. If you're ever in Sedona, guys, check it out. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess just a little bit about like how you kind of ideated the idea. How did you make space in your life to create it? Maybe let's
Sure.
talk a little bit about that.
I think creating space is a really wonderful topic to begin with. We have to create space in our life before the manifestations can occur. So even as an artist, I went to school for art. I almost didn't because I almost believed society's limiting beliefs that it's too hard to be an artist, or the starving artist myth.
Right.
But I did go to school for art. I played it safe by focusing on graphic design and website design and branding and digital, which was actually a really good move because I learned that aspect of the business. So I spent my first 15 years of my career designing other people's brands, designing their websites, their e-commerce, and I really learned quite a bit. And then it wasn't until I moved to Sedona that I created space for myself to emerge as an artist and started focusing on my own brand and my own products and my own work.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think that is a common trope that limits a lot of people, the whole starving artist, musician trope. I see a lot of people here who believe in it.
Yes.
And so it's kind of sad to see. I mean, how were you able to break free from that?
Well, I almost went to school I was going to be a veterinarian. I love animals, sorry. I almost didn't go to school for art until a woman came to my high school and spoke about graphic design and told me that she made an amazing career as a designer. So just having one person plant the seed was enough to enable me to believe in myself, because my family wasn't telling me that I could do it and society wasn't telling me I could do it. So you have to have someone or some influence that's strong enough to say, yes, you can.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Once I heard those words and I saw her, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to school for graphic design. That sounds like a good way to take this career as an artist and make it beneficial. I got into graphic design. It was very profitable. So it enabled me to save money, build a lot of skill set, and also learn the skills necessary as an artist to then take my work from a painting, for example, then how to digitize it or turn it into a book or prints. Really useful skills that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. So a very complementary skill set to be an artist. But it took about 15 years to believe in myself, that I could actually make that switch from designing client work and designing, digital e-commerce sites, to just painting animals. Ultimately, it's what I do now, and I'm so happy.
It's amazing that you were able to combine your love of animals with
Exactly.
The art process.
So when I lived in LA for 8 years before I came to Sedona, and when I was in Los Angeles, I created spaces for my graphic design. So I created offices, and in my offices I had great computer setups and space for clients, but I never had an art studio. So until I got to Sedona and I actually gave myself my first art studio, there was no ability for me to be an artist until I made the space.
Wonderful. So, making the space is key, and would that be as simple as just renting a space, clearing it out, or more
Exactly.
steps than that? Yeah.
Yep. In Sedona, I got my first art studio. It was a tiny little room with just a few windows, and because there was no foot traffic and I was able to be really messy and just set up a full-on art studio and paint. And after 2 months, I realized I needed a gallery. I painted so much in 2 months, and I needed space to hang it and show it, that I actually broke my lease 2 months in. and signed a bigger lease on a combination of a gallery and art studio where Bohemian Dreamer currently is.
Nice. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about like Bohemian Dreamer, the art in it, and inspirations. I remember we had a prior conversation where you were saying how a lot of the inspirations were from your dreams and from other spaces like that. Yeah.
Yes, I have a lot of book ideas come to me in dreams, a lot of magical creatures as well. So animals that you haven't seen in this world, or colors that you haven't even seen in the spectrum, flowers and plants and other things. So I've been keeping dream journals for years. I mean, since I was young. And so I will always draw the creatures from my dreams, whether they're animals or extraterrestrials. There's a wide range of inspiration that comes from them. I've painted in dreams, tried to recreate it in real life. It's never quite the same. But I have had book ideas come to me in dreams, and I have worked on books based on that. And when I started painting animals, I spent about 2 years painting spirit animals in Sedona, and the animals started coming to me in dreams. Especially as I was collecting the first 77 to make an oracle deck. If I missed an animal, it made sure to show up in my dream to show me that it wanted to be included.
Wonderful. So I think one of the things that is interesting is a lot of people here in Sedona believe in like spirit guides, animal guides, things like that. So I bet that it's a pretty popular selling point when you're talking to people here.
Yeah, I started off with tarot. So I was 14 when I first started reading tarot. It came to me really intuitively before there was internet. So it was just one of those things that I found in a bookstore. I really loved the idea of using of cards to divinate. Tarot was about a 20-year journey for me. I designed my own tarot deck. I started that before I got to Sedona when I was in Los Angeles. I spent a year traveling, and I worked on the tarot deck from my RV. And when I got to Sedona and I had the time and the space to ground, I got to finish the tarot deck. And then after that, that really inspired me to do the oracle cards with the animals, because I would say I'm more connected to animals even than tarot.
Okay. It's wonderful that you have these ideas and then you're just executing them, and it might have taken a few years, but
yeah, the dedication and patience that it takes to finish these kind of projects, it's worth it. It's like musicians, right? When you're making music or art, you're not rushing to get to the end. You're enjoying every step of the process, and the feeling of creation is what fuels you. So it doesn't matter how long it takes, because every day feels so good to create.
Wow.
Knowing that what you're doing is going to help serve others, that the work will be put out there and enjoyed. And my intention with the spirit animal deck was to give voice to the animals, because I still care about them very much, and I want to help protect them, bring awareness to them, and also give them a platform to speak to people. And so with the animal oracle deck and now the animal wisdom book, people can see an animal and learn what its message is, and they connect more to that animal, and they care more about it.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think one thing that I'm really interested in is just like, so for example, my spirit animal when I was growing up, I thought it was a penguin, right?
Yeah, that's so cute.
Yeah. Like I love penguins. I love how they like dress. They look like they're in a tuxedo and they like slide, and they're playful, right? But but now as I grow up, I resonate more with other animals, like, I don't know, like dragons or even like mythological creatures. So like, is that normal? Like,
yes. So spirit animals will come and go as needed. You can call spirit animals to you. A lot of people have the misconception that they are a spirit animal. So they'll say, oh, I'm a dragon, or I'm a tiger. Really, they're just calling in the essence of that animal to help them, to guide them, and to be with them. So if you are going through a certain part of your life where you need confidence, you're going to call in really powerful, confident animals to guide you and encourage you. When it's time to rest and slow down, you might be calling in some turtles and sloths and camels, other animals. And penguin definitely has a special meaning to you. So
yeah, I would like buy all the documentaries on penguins. I would watch every single movie on penguins, like get books on penguins.
That can also come from a past life experience,
really?
Where you lived with penguins.
Oh, wow.
I could see that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That might be true,
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I had a lot of African influence when I was younger. I wanted to go to Africa, and I collected masks and African jungle animal or African, creatures. The jungle, of course, has always been really, really strong with me. So I go to the Peruvian Amazon. I've been to the Indian jungles, Costa Rican jungles. So I'm definitely drawn to the tropical regions.
For sure. And what type of have you done any what type of experiences have you had there?
When I go to the Peruvian Amazon, I go to a research center, and there's over 1 million protected acres of diverse rainforest that has not been touched by humans. So when I'm out there, I'm looking for monkeys, sloths, and a lot of other creatures that are pretty rare and unbelievable when you see them, like 6-foot giant river otters,
Oh, wow.
pink river dolphins. I've been out there 3 times. I still have yet to find an anaconda.
Is that something that you're looking for?
Yeah. I love snakes.
Oh, there you go.
And anacondas are, some of the largest snakes that exist. I've seen a lot of boa constrictors and other things out there. But it's beautiful because you can return to the same jungle, many times, and still there's so much that you've never seen. Or you see new things every time that just blow your mind. The diversity of wildlife in the jungle is just much more dense. When I went to the Indian jungles, we couldn't get out of the jeep in the jungles of India. We were looking for tigers, and it's so overpopulated in India that the jungles are much smaller, and so the concentrated area where the tigers and the wildlife are is much thicker, and so you have to be a little bit more cautious. When you're in the jungles of the Amazon, you've got millions of acres where you can walk with no problem. It's going to be more rare to encounter big cats, for example.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go on like a jungle adventure. Like I feel like the whole concept of like the hero's journey and exploration is like very resonates.
And that's what the tarot is all about as well, is the hero's journey.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
I did not know.
Yeah. It starts with the Fool and ends on the World with completion.
So that's like an archetypical journey of...
Yep, so the tarot tells a story of that archetype journey. And so as you're pulling tarot cards, you might resonate on the beginning path of that journey, or you might pull some of the completion cards and show your next step.
That reminds me of like every single Hollywood movie, and also like I like the books by Joseph Campbell, like the heroes about the hero's journey. So that's like what resonates.
Yeah, so everything falls back in line with the stories and the art and the music. We all follow the same path.
Right, and a lot of them is just 2 stories. I think like someone said almost all of art and film and literature comes from 2 tropes, which is like the stranger leaving town, or like the man growing up.
Yeah, I think of the
boy
Hobbits
growing up.
when you say that.
Exactly.
There's always, so I've been writing children's books for quite some time now, and there's always a method to writing these books. This is what you're talking about. There has to be an arc, a character arc, or some kind of turning point in the story where the lesson is learned, or so when you lay out a story or a tarot deck or an oracle deck, there's a story. There's a point to everything to help, because everyone is on different parts of their path in life.
Right. So I guess say someone's just starting out, right? They're trying to become like an artist or a musician or a poet or what have you, and they're trying to find not only their medium but also how to find a story that resonates with them. So how do you do that? Would you just observe other people, or do you tell your own story?
So my biggest advice for anyone starting is to stay in your experimental phase as long as you can. Try everything. Don't limit your creativity. So when I first got my art studio in Sedona, I had just finished making my tarot deck, so naturally I wanted to just start painting tarot cards. But I decided, okay, don't do that. Just start experimenting. So every 2 weeks I changed my style. So I painted tarot cards for 2 weeks to get that out of my system. But instead of allowing myself to go down another long path in one medium or one direction, I decided to start painting abstract, and then a landscape, and then a mythological creatures. Basically trying new styles, new techniques, new mediums, whether you're a musician or an artist. Give yourself experimental time so that you're not trying to start a project so soon that you limit yourself, because you need to develop what your technique looks like and have accidents and experiments that lead you towards unknown paths.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's more fun.
Yeah. Like myself, I just started writing songs and doing some singing songwriting, and it's just like I feel stuck sometimes. I feel like I'm hitting a wall. So
that
maybe
means you need to change direction and try something new.
Yeah, maybe I should start like writing conscious rap lyrics or something.
So I think a lot of people get stuck in creativity because we're so conditioned with work to have an outcome that if it doesn't feel like it's plugged into a path of creating something with an outcome, it feels pointless, or it feels like you're not doing it well enough or right. But what if you just give yourself a week to be silly? Right?
Yeah, I love that. It's just like such a liberating thought.
Exactly. I mean, give yourself a mood for 1 week and go into that feeling and express what that feeling feels like through art or through music or singing.
That reminds me of a course I took with Amelia here in town.
Yeah. Amelia's at my studio right now.
Oh, wow.
We're going to film after this.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
What are you filming about?
About creativity.
Okay.
Today's a day about creativity.
The day of creativity, yeah. So her course was amazing. Highly recommend it. Amelia's here in town, Sedona. I'll give a shout out to her in the link below as well. And basically, her course teaches us to, like exactly what you were saying, how just to be silly, to be creative,
and dropping perfectionism is huge, because in our jobs and our careers, we're always forced into an outcome where we have to be the most productive, really on point, no mistakes. But in creativity, that's not really how it works. There's some days, I remember when I used to get frustrated sometimes because I'd have an idea in my mind of how I wanted the painting to turn out, and I would spend all day working on it, and it just didn't even come close. But I had to learn to accept those days and accept those moments and let it be what it wanted to be.
Just let it flow.
Yes. And we might love other artists' styles, but no matter what, we're going to have our own unique style. And there's nothing we can do about that. So we have to learn to embrace our own unique hand and our own expression.
And that style and that expression might change.
It's definitely going to change. It's good to have influences and inspiration, but allow yourself to develop your own pace, your own style, and your own voice.
For sure. I feel like that's like one of the keys to success of a lot of these artists. Like Picasso, for example, he would have like a new phase every so often.
Yep. Yeah. When I started painting my spirit animals, I start with mythological creatures, dragons, fairies, gnomes, because there was no photo reference. So I got to be completely creative in my own rights. And my style changed so much. I tried different techniques for each of these animals. There wasn't very consistent of a grouping. If you look back at my first year of painting, everything's kind of all over the place because I was trying different techniques and different styles. Then I was ready to start the spirit animals after that, because I gave myself enough time to play. Then I started painting the spirit animals, and a year and 2 years into it, I had to go back and repaint some of my earlier animals. My style developed, and the ones that I started out no longer matched. So I ended up repainting my owl, repainting my moth, repainting some of the earlier animals.
That makes a lot of sense. That reminds me of when I recorded my violin, because I'm a violinist. Onto my friend's track, and then he tuned it so that it would sound better, right? It would only be in certain sections. Yeah. But then he got new audio and video equipment, so then he did it again from scratch, and now I'm not on anymore. But he still wants me on board. But it's just the whole process ongoing. It never stops, and it's always about continuing to make it better.
And we're always going to get better. We're always going to go back and judge some of our earlier work as not good enough. When you start to compare, that's just natural. Yeah. I have a painting of a Buddha over my fireplace. I was 18 when I made it. People walk in and they love it. I look at it and I'm just, I see where I was, I could do better. So it's just kind of a natural part of being an artist. You evolve and you grow, and that piece of work will bring joy to somebody else. So I know I can let that go, make something new.
Yeah, that's like a wonderful thought. Like you're helping the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way to be unattached sometimes to your work. If it no longer brings you joy, or you start to look at it and think, I could do better, let it go and make a new piece, so that what you're looking at every day brings you joy.
I like that a lot. Like, for example, this I consider an art form. You like interviewing people.
Oh, and for
Yeah.
sure the interviews are going to keep getting better and better as you go.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and then that reminds me of another anecdote like this. So potters, there was this quote, I think it was from Confucius or something. Basically, like you make a pot. If you make a pot, the instructor told a group of students to make a pot every single day. It doesn't matter how it looks.
Yeah.
And then they told another group of students to just make one pot for the entire course, but they have to make it good. So
Yeah.
like they have one perfect pot. So not only did the first group make way better pots, even though they like started out they were really bad,
Yeah.
and then but just because they repeated it every day,
Yes.
at the end of 60 days they were amazing, and they enjoyed the whole process because they didn't have like that pressure to succeed.
So I'm a ceramicist as well.
Oh, wow.
In fact, today I'm going to pottery
Mhm.
to make, I have to make another 10 perfect matching cups.
Mhm.
I've been making ceramics for about almost 2 years now.
Mhm.
And I only make little mugs.
Mhm.
So the same technique you're talking about, I make the same thing every single time. And I used to get criticized in class
Mhm.
quite a bit
Mhm.
because I was only making mugs.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I just make the same thing every day
Yeah.
for years,
Mhm.
I'll get really good at it. Plus, I tried to make a bowl last week, and
Yeah.
I didn't even want to make a bowl. I just
Mhm.
want to make cups.
Mhm.
But my cups have gotten so much better.
Yeah.
To the point now, if I even try to hold one of my earlier cups,
Mhm.
I can't even drink from it.
Oh wow.
Because they've gotten much lighter,
Mhm.
and my technique and my styles come through. But I enjoy making cups and
Mhm.
mugs every single time I'm in ceramics. And I just got commissioned by someone to make 20 matching cups.
Okay.
And for the very
Congrats.
first, thank you, for the
Mhm.
first time ever, I was able to throw 10 matching cups last week.
Mhm.
And now I'm going to throw the other 10 today. So I can tell that I've gotten a lot better from doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like just like the continuous striving to be better every single
Yeah,
day.
and I could be very diverse in my
Mhm.
ceramics, but I really love taking the clay and learning, how to get the right shape. And there's a very specific shape now
Mhm.
that I work to achieve.
Mhm.
And it's not easy.
Mhm.
Out of those 10, there's one that I really, really love.
Mhm.
It's got the perfect amount of curve and shape to it, but it's really fun to just sit down every day and do the same thing. Where I know I was just saying the opposite about art,
Yeah.
but with ceramics, it's a whole different medium.
Mhm.
With ceramics, you take a big chunk of clay,
Mhm.
and you know that you can shape it into any vessel you want. And for me, I'm learning which type of vessel feels good, and because I'm doing the same thing there, I can get the right thickness and the right height and the right size and the right shape of the handle, and it makes a big difference when I'm drinking something out of something I've made
Mhm.
in the perfect shape and the perfect rim thickness. So with ceramics, it's a whole different approach.
That's really fascinating that you say that, because I just thought that all art was the same.
Well, it's funny
not,
with,
yeah.
I mean, painting, there's so many different mediums. There's
Mhm.
watercolors and acrylics. Alcohol ink is a new one that I'm really loving lately.
Mhm.
So with alcohol ink, you get really messy,
Mhm.
create galaxies and universes, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of finger painting along.
Mhm.
And so I'm learning a whole new technique with alcohol ink,
Mhm.
and those keep getting better and better as I go.
Mhm.
So with alcohol ink, I'm picking the same subject every
Mhm.
time. I'm painting galaxies.
Nice. So is that from, where's the inspiration from that? Like looking at the sky, or from
My
things?
friend
Mhm.
Elise came over, and she brought alcohol inks and books from
Mm.
NASA
Oh,
of
wow.
space.
Okay.
And so we had these beautiful photographs of outer space. I'm like,
Mhm.
let's recreate this. And so she taught me the technique,
Mhm.
and we would have so much fun together making galaxies.
Nice. That sounds like, it just sounds like something like I would do as a little kid. It's like very.
Yeah.
Like,
So even
yeah.
so it's interesting because
Mhm.
I have to go back now on my other point.
Mhm.
There's a diversity
Mhm.
within the art. Each medium has its own unique expression and voice. So
Mhm.
now I'm learning, okay, when I'm working with watercolors, for example, they really want to work in this way.
Mhm.
Or the alcohol inks want to come out in this way, and
Mhm.
the pottery, the ceramics want to come out in this way, but they're
Mhm.
still diverse.
Mhm.
And so I've learned to jump around. If my attention and energy wants to go into jewelry making or pottery or acrylic painting, I just kind of let my energy direct where I want to go.
Mhm.
And then I still get that diversity. And then eventually the styles start to emerge, like I was saying.
Mhm.
The spirit animals have their style, the mugs have their style, the galaxies are getting better. And so I think it's a combination of that exploration plus dedication,
Mhm.
patience. And doing the same thing for many, many years, you get a lot better.
Absolutely. Yeah, like it's like not it, a lot of people expect like perfection or like an amazing product when they just
Yeah.
start, but it doesn't.
It's
Never
gonna
works.
take time.
Yeah, it never works like that. So you have to put in some hours and some effort.
Exactly. But and it should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're having fun every day,
Mm-hmm.
just keep doing whatever it is you want to do. And know that your style is going to change, what you like is going to change, your color palettes are going to change.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the beautiful part.
Mm-hmm. So, do you like pick out certain environments like consciously? Do you like, for example, how do you like pick the materials, the environment, the people you want to work with?
Yeah, creating
Yeah.
space
Mhm.
is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So the space that you create for yourself
Mhm.
to create in makes a big difference.
Right.
So in Bohemian Dreamer, I worked with a very vibrant color palette.
Mhm.
Bright purples and blues, pinks. I actually don't use any red, yellow, or orange
Mm.
in my paintings.
Mhm.
So I have a really unique palette. I pick out the paints custom to what I want to work with.
Mm.
And then I paint in that palette. And then when people come to paint in my classes, they paint in that same palette, and then we have a consistency just from that alone.
Oh wow, nice.
In my new space, I have a new space called Dream Magic. So a few months ago, I outgrew my old art studio,
Mhm.
which was a really great space for a few years.
Mhm.
And then I needed more space. So
Mhm.
Dream Magic now is very white,
Mhm.
gold, tan, black, and white. And so it's a more neutral color palette than the bright, vibrant colors that are up in the other studio.
Got you. Yeah, maybe I'll drop a link below, and then you can
Yeah.
check it out yourselves.
So when I got a new art studio, I picked out a whole new color palette of paints, and that was really exciting and fun to work with.
It's good to hear. So we have about 5 minutes left. Would you like to maybe share for like kind of things like words of wisdom or advice to just like young budding artists, you know?
Yeah, don't give up. Don't let yourself be limited by other people's beliefs.
Mhm.
So find your own unique voice, your own expression, your own style, and let yourself have fun along the way, because that's key. Make sure you're enjoying what you do.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And just to wrap it up, like, so Bohemian Dreamer is a brick and mortar store here in Sedona, Arizona.
Yes.
And if you're ever in town, or you can check it out in town, or you can check it out in the website. I'll drop a link in the comments below.
BohemianDreamer.com.
BohemianDreamer.com.
It has all the spirit animals, the
Mhm.
books, the oracle decks, and the
Yeah.
tarot.
Yeah, so you can go there to just check out everything Rachel has to offer.
Yeah, and find inspiration. And if you have a favorite spirit animal, look it up. You can find the full meanings online.
Yeah, wonderful. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, this is Chinese Alchemist, and it's Rachel.
Thank you.
Mhm. Have a good time.